Okay, so by now you should have watched the 3 basic circle videos on Khan Academy and the 2 on arc measure. So this is to help supplement that, so to help you understand what the arc measures are. So when we have a circle, and here's my circle here, we have a central angle. So that is an angle made with the center point of the circle. So I have angle ACB. That is a central angle because the center of the circle is the vertex of the angle. So we call it a central angle because it's at the center of the circle. Now the arc measure measures the arc of the circle. So from A to B, that is an arc. Okay, from A to B around the other side, that is also an arc. So we're looking at the pieces of the circle that are the arcs. Now, what we're learning here about arc measure is that it's equal to the central angle. They're equal to each other. So whatever this angle is here, that's going to be the measure of the angle of the arc. They're equal. Now we have 3 types of arcs. And I'm going to pause it here and move it up. Okay, we have 3 types of arcs. We have a minor arc, an arc that's less than 180 degrees, and it's usually named with 2 points. So at the very beginning of the year, we had some geometry notation with segments and points and lines and rays. So an arc literally has a small arc above it. So you have your starting point, your ending point, and then you have the arc symbol. So when I come over to my circle, my blue piece here is the minor arc, and it's minor because it's less than 180 degrees, and you'll notice it's only labeled with 2 letters. It's where it starts and where it ends. So if you see anything labeled with 2 letters, they're indicating a minor arc, and that's going to be less than 180 degrees. Okay, then we have a semicircle, and that's an arc equal to 180 degrees, and it's named with 3 points. Okay, going back to the semicircle, semi means half, so half of the circle. So 180 degrees is half of 360 degrees, and that's the measure of a circle. A circle has 360 degrees, okay? Semicircle has 180 degrees. So my semicircle goes from point A, that's where it's starting at. Point D is a point that is going through the arc that gives you the direction, whether to go left or right. And then point B is where it ends. So it's a semicircle is labeled with 3 points. So if you see anything with 3 points, it could be a semicircle or it could be our next one, a major arc. Semicircles are always equal to 180 degrees because it's half the circle, semicircle. The next one is a major arc, and that's greater than 180 degrees. It's also named with 3 points. So if I start at B, that's my starting point. It tells me to go in the direction of A, so that means I'm going to the left, and then I'm ending at D. So B, A, D. So I'm talking about most of my circle. It's going to be more than half. So a major arc is going to be more than half the circle. Okay, so it's going to be a good portion. It's going to be most of it. Okay, so I'm going to pause it here and change to my examples. Okay, so some of the examples they used in the videos, arc measure examples, is we have it where it's just degree-wise. The measure of arc AB is 120 degrees, and that's because it was given to us that the central angle was 120 degrees, and they wanted to find the measure of arc AB. That would be my blue arc here. That's the same as the measure of the central angle. So if this is 120 degrees, then this is going to be 120 degrees as well. Now, if I wanted to find the measure of angle ACB, which is my major arc, and again, it says to start at A, I'm going in the direction of C, so that's to my left, and then I'm ending at B. So that's indicating a major arc, and that's my green one. And I want to find out what that is. Well, if I'm only given the 120 degrees, remember a circle has 360 degrees. And my pen is lagging. 360. Ooh, that looks bad. Let's try that again. 360 degrees. And if I already know part of the circle is 120, then I can subtract that, and I can find the other part of the circle, which is 240, which is what I have here. Okay, so that's how I get 240 degrees. If I have 360 and I know one portion of the circle is 120, then the rest of the circle is 240 degrees. And as before, the measure of the central angle is the measure of the arc. So if my angle is 240 degrees, then my arc is 240 degrees. Okay, so I know you'll have various portions of the circle given to you. You may have to add angles together to get your arcs. You may have to subtract angles to get your arc. Okay, but with the numeric part, it's here. Now, algebraically, it says find the measure of arc BC. Okay, well, BC is here, and it appears to be a minor arc. So if I come over here with blue, since blue are my minor arcs, I've been given these arcs, or these central angles here, 3x plus 115 and 12x plus 100. Okay, now these are vertical angles. So we learned that way back at the beginning of the year, that vertical angles are congruent. So this angle is equal to this angle because they're congruent. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to set up a problem that arc AB and arc CD are equal because they're vertical angles. And I can set up the equation 3x plus 115 equals the 2x plus 100. And then from here, I'm going to solve. So I'll write that a little bit better because the pink is a little hard to see. 3x plus 15 equals 2x plus 100. And here we would subtract 115 from both sides. And we get 3x left over here equals 2x. And then 100 minus 115 gives me a negative 15 left over. I'm going to move the 2x over. Okay, that cancels out. And my x is equal to negative 15. Okay, so now I'm going to substitute that in. So I'm going to come over here, 3 times negative 15 plus 115. That's going to give me the angle measure. That gives me negative 45 plus 115. And 115 minus 45, that gives me 0 here, so I have to borrow. That gives me 10. That gives me 60 degrees. Or not. Now that makes it 11, so I messed up. So that does give me 70 degrees. Oop. 11 minus 4 is 7, so that gives me 70 degrees. Okay, so now I know that this central angle is 70 degrees, and I know this central angle is 70 degrees, which makes arc AB 70 degrees, and that makes CD 70 degrees. Okay, so now that I know that, I can add them up, 70 and 70. That equals 140. I know the circle is 360, so if I subtract that 140, I get 220. 220. Now, these two are vertical angles, so I can divide that by 2, and I get 110. So that means arc BC is 110, and arc AD would also be 110 degrees. Okay, so that is how we would find arc BC. We would find the two arcs we have using vertical angles and solving it algebraically. We know a circle is 360 degrees, so we would subtract those sums from 360, and we get 220. That would be left for BC and AD. Those are equal because those are vertical angles, so I can divide it by 2, and each one is 110 degrees. Okay, give me a moment. I'm going to pause and move it up. Okay, so here I've shown the rest of my work here, and I solved it a different way because I noticed that AB here and BC here formed a semicircle. So now that I know that AB was 70, and I can find BC because it adds up with 70 to equal 180, I subtracted 70 from both sides, and that gives me 110. So I hope seeing these examples taught by me and the vocabulary help clarify things for you. If not, let me know. I can do another video, or I can answer your questions specifically through email.